Okay, I'm back. Everyone on Zoom still with me? Good. Okay. So as we were saying, so once we've come to a place in which we have found some higher purpose in life, then also life is not as fragmented. It's not like I'm being pulled in 10 different directions. I got my work problem issues, and I got family, and I've got my social, and I got this thing, a community, and I'm being pulled in. I wake up every day and I've got one theme. I'm here to serve. God, I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve, make the world a better place. How? Well, I do it as a father. I got to do it as a son. I do it in many, many different ways. And I switch hats, many hats. I don't just wear a black hat. Got many hats, right? But it's one theme all the way through, from the when I wake up in the morning till I go to sleep at night. And it makes life much more peaceful when you live that way. I don't have to be jumping around. Same theme. And I may have to shift gears. I may have to, but the theme, the goals remain the same. Same goal all the way through. Think about a team that's got to win the Super Bowl, right? There's a lot of things they got to practice. They got to do this. Lots of things that have to happen. But there's one goal from beginning to the end. We got to win that Super Bowl. Same thing all the way through from beginning to the end. So that is and that's what we said. One of the reasons why we have Shabbat, as we said, to reorient when we sometimes kind of get lost in 1,000 different directions. Hold on, let's get back. Let's keep the main thing, as they say. Let's get back to what is the main thing. What's my purpose? That's what Shabbat does. And then last week, we discussed two main themes that we discussed last week, which I want to focus on. Number one is that it's not that we have this purpose and we try to find meaning and we do the same thing day in and day out, which becomes very monotonous and very rote, but rather than in Judaism, time has character. In Kabbalah, time has character. Again, this is not the way science looks at time. This is not the way Aristotle looked at time. It's not the way we look at it in the secular world. Time is just time. You can do whatever you want at the time. There's nothing intrinsically different between one moment in time and another moment in time. Again, in the secular concept of time, if everyone decided this upcoming year, let's move Yom Kippur to another day, I mean, we could do it, and it could feel like Yom Kippur. Everyone would fast, everyone would come to synagogue and everything, and then then the rabbi could fulfill his secret fantasy that on the real Yom Kippur he can go golfing. It'd be fantastic. But the reality is that we would be doing Yom Kippur, but not on the day that is Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur has an intrinsic day. The energy of that day is on a specific day. And that time has color, different days of the year. We went through, there's so many different cycles and systems. We have a week system, we have a month system, we have years, we have holidays, we have Shabbat, we have all these different things that there is an energy to it. And so, for example, where all week long, the 6 days a week, we have a job, make the world a better place. Go out there, interact with the world. You can't make the world a better place, by the way, if you're hiding in an ashram in the Himalayas. It's very hard. Who you're interacting with. So to make the world a better place, you got to be out in the world. So we go out there in the world. We have a job. We go to the workplace. But when we go, by just who we are, how we treat people, how we have faith in God, how we go about dealing with when we're going through a crisis, and we stay calm and we say, I have faith in God. People look at us, wow, how do you say so calm in that situation? Faith. It gets people thinking. Or I always say, just the fact that when you call someone to get help on the phone, and they ask you, how's your day? You call the bank or whatever it is, and you say, thank God. That one statement, right away, they stop for a moment. They say, oh, yeah, thank you. It made them think for a moment. So there's all these little mini moments all the time. You have no idea how you're impacting people along the way as you're going about doing these different things. So we do that 6 days a week, but we need a day to refuel. We need a day to reorient, as we said. Shabbat's a whole different energy. Shabbat says, don't make the world a better place in Shabbat. Come back, go back to who you are. And Shabbat is, so to speak, is like an ambassador going back to his home country. It's like we're going back to which is why today, for spirituality, for godliness, family, connection, to reorient, to spirit. So again, knowing the energy of each day allows us to switch gears, focus and tap it into the energy of each day, make sure it's not monotonous, and so on and so forth. And we spoke about the importance of time. And the other concept we spoke about is this idea that God is creating the world. In Kabbalah, it says God is creating the world every single moment. God is recreating the world every single moment, because creation is something from nothing. And anytime you change the natural state of something, generally speaking, the way it works in our world is that when you change the natural state of something, you have to apply a constant force. If you stop applying the force, what happens? it goes back to its natural state. That's the way it works, right? So I try this. If I stop telling my kids to clean their room, guess what? Chaos, because the natural state is chaos. I have to keep reminding them, gotta clean your room, keep it clean, get the stuff off. Come on, let's clean up. Right? Just kidding. But the point is that everything has a natural state of being, and the natural state of this world is not to be. It wasn't here. So God, to make it, has to make it be, and if he stops making it be, it goes back to its natural state, which is not to be. That's why God doesn't have to do anything to, all these Armageddon movies of destruction. God, if he doesn't want a world to be, you know what he does? Stop creating it. It just won't be here. And I'll give you something that's not only won't it be here, it'll have never been here, which is a very interesting concept when you discuss the creation of time. Time itself is creation. But I don't want to blow, gets a little crazy out there stuff. But the point is, it won't be. At that point, at least from that point on, it won't be. Right? It'll stop being. Which means that the world, God is creating the world. So it means everything in our world, every situation, every scenario, God is basically creating it. It's a complicated system. I don't want to get into the details of it last time we start, getting into how it all works between the choices that we make, because we do have choices, versus other people being the recipients of those choices and how that all interplays. It's a very, very sophisticated system. But God has created a system where every single person in this world, all the billions of people in this world, God is creating all of these scenarios in their life for their purpose in this world. So it's like the movie director, right? God sets the props, the backdrops, everything. Every day you run through 1,000 situations a day. All of that is preordained, organized by God. You're put in the set. Now, what are you going to do in that set? Are you going to smile? You're going to growl. You're going to be angry. You're going to be nice. You're going to be kind. You're going to be patient. You're not going to be. There's 1,000 times a day where you can either be impatient, you can lack faith, be scared, get down on yourself, be happy, be positive. All choices every moment of the day. How do you? A phone call didn't go the way you wanted it to go. What's your next step? What do you do then? These are all situations that God is creating day in and day out, all around us. And for every single human being, and every detail in our surroundings, all important. They're all part of that. Every prop, as we watched that little movie last week, and people online didn't see the movie, but if you're writing a good story, every detail in the story has to be part of the plot. There's a reason why the guy had a gun. There's a reason why it's all part of a plot. And that's the way Kabbalah looks at life. Someone who's a Kabbalist or lives their life according to Kabbalistic thinking walks around every day keenly aware that every scenario that they're in is meant to be. Or as we say, coincidence is an 11-letter name for God. That's what it is. So this is the way it's supposed to be. Yeah, coincidence is an 11-letter name for God. Think about that.
I'm just thinking, there's no destiny. We don't believe in destiny.
Correct. Destiny would mean that your choices have been made. So your choices are your choices, and you get to create that future. So the props are there, but what lines are you going to say in that movie? It's your lines. See, it could be an angry line, it could be a happy line, it could be a kind line, it could be an unkind line. We've given you the situation, now you produce. And that's the way a Kabbalist looks at their life, and therefore, even when things don't go according to the way you hoped and planned, so if we don't believe in divine providence or coincidence being an 11-letter name for God, it's all thrown off. We had a plan, now it's all messed up. We missed the flight. We couldn't do this, or the weather went bad. And the Kabbalist says, this is exactly how is the situation supposed to be? Exactly as it is. Exactly as it is, that's the way it's supposed to be. And what's your job? What do you do with it now? What are you going to do with it? That's your job. So again, the wrong question, I always say, when something doesn't go with the way we hoped, because we all have hopes, but if it doesn't go the way we hoped, the wrong question is, why does this happen to me? Why me? The right question is, what is being asked of me now? What is my purpose in this situation now? That's the pivot.
But the outcome must predestined.
Correct. The circuit happened, but what your reaction to it? We'll see. We'll see what your reaction is going to be to that situation. So that we have to see. But the idea that sometimes we can have situations that we didn't go according to plan, and we don't have to fall apart. We can say, okay, this is the new set. that God has put in my life? What is being asked of me at this point in time? And what is my purpose now in this situation? And if your life is driven by purpose, can the question of, can I fulfill a purpose, can that question ever be taken away from us? No. Because in every situation, we can fulfill a purpose, even subconsciously, by the way. Because even people who are, so to speak, brain dead in a hospital are also fulfilling a purpose here in the way the way they impact family, the way I've seen families that have made peace because there's a loved one who's pretty much at the end of their life, not conscious of any of this, lying in the hospital. So have they fulfilled a purpose without knowing it? Yes. And that brings me to the next point, which is sometimes you get yourself in a situation and you say, well, I don't know, I was in this situation. I don't see how I made an impact. I don't see whatever. I just went to the bank. I stood there and I stood in line and I left the bank. And there was nothing. I didn't see anything. Sometimes there are things that happen that you don't notice, but other people do notice. That someone else has been impacted. They saw you. They saw something you did. You said. How many of us in life have had people in our lives that have had a tremendous impact on us that they probably don't even know that they've had that impact? All of us, right? And the big thing is, if you can, to probably let them know at some point in time. It's not a bad idea to kind of let people know that they've been important in your life. But how many of us can point to so many people? But they've made a very big impression. Something they did, something they said, something they reacted to, they made it. So even when we find ourselves in a situation and we say, that was kind of meaningless, I don't see the point. You may not. There may be something else. So wherever we are, there's a purpose, there's a reason, there's something there. Sometimes we discover it, sometimes we don't. But we look for it, we find purpose in it. We also discovered that means that there's meaning in every event. We can always learn from everything. So there's everything in life, there's an opportunity to learn from a person, learn from a situation. Like my dad says, when someone doesn't behave very well, you can learn from them how not to be. So you can learn from everything. Every single situation has a learning opportunity. And lastly, when you notice something very negative in other people, there's a reason you're noticing that. That's divine providence too. You didn't have to notice it, but you did. And the reason you're noticing it is not to call your friend up and say, could you believe that so-and-so did this and said that? That's not the reason you were shown it. The reason you were shown it is either help them if you can. And if you can't, maybe think about the fact that you're noticing that might be saying something about you having that in some subtle way too. Maybe it's a message for you to work on that in yourself, which of course takes a lot of humility, because instead of being judgmental of the other person, saying, well, do I sometimes do that? Do I sometimes have that issue? Maybe maybe not as bad, or maybe in some, but maybe I'm not. And usually if it really bothers you about someone else, what does that say? You probably have that. If you didn't have it, it wouldn't bother you so much. It's usually why it bothers you so much is because it's something that you really struggle with. So those are some of the things that we went through, and now we are ready. Quite a review, but we are ready to move on. So we are going to move on to tonight's lesson. Go ahead.
You said that we're never unintended victims in other people's stories. I know it's that complicated how everybody works, but you're never a victim in someone else's story.
Correct. So in other words, if you end up, so to speak, being a victim, that's where you had to be. That's your life. Now, not every scenario in our life is grand and beautiful. Some of it's not so great. We all end up as people. Listen, we can be a victim of someone else's choice. We can also be a victim of a disease or sickness, God forbid. People are victims of many different things. The key is what we do in that situation. Not easy. And we have a prayer in the morning. We say to God every single morning, it's in the morning blessings. God, don't bring me to tests. Don't test me. Right. We don't go looking for tests. Don't test. God, please don't test me. I've got another one like this. I've got my tests. Don't
listen.
Yeah. True, but there's tests and then there's tests. So I'll take the tests, but don't give me the tests.
That's one. The test as well.
Yeah. King David once said to God, I am so God-fearing. I'm such a good person. I'll never make a mistake. Test me. And next thing he knows, he sees a woman bathing without her clothes. and he decides, I'm marrying that woman. Finds out she's married, problem. So he can solve the problem. He's the king. He had her husband sent to the front lines of the battle. And after he died, he marries the woman. Right? Didn't pass that test. And God said, don't ask for tests.
Was she torturing the rest of his life?
Huh?
She tortured.
No, she didn't. But God's prophet Nathan came and had a long discussion with him about it. And it's an amazing story. But King David at least had the humility to say, you know what? I messed up big time. And he spent a lifetime trying to repent for that. So he lived with that guilt, and he lived with the guilt and the lesson and the realization that he had done something. But ironically, who was born from that union? King Solomon and the future Messiah, which is, by the way, another piece in the amazing story of the Messiah, starting with the daughters of Lot living with their father. Right, that's pretty. Right, in a cave, Lot with his daughters. That's the Messiah's beginning. To Judah and his daughter-in-law, Tamar, and then many other stories along the way, and one of them being King David and this woman that he takes and everything. So the Messiah comes into this world in very, very, through very dark alleyways. That's how the Messiah comes into this world, and there's a lot of meaning in that, and not for tonight's class. It's another discussion if you want to discuss that. It's a Mashiach mindset discussion. We can do that another time. Yeah, one more question.
I understand it in a local kind of, your immediate world and how you can impact the people around us. But there's so much hate in the world. How can we combat that? How can we, by just being nice to someone else, yes, I get that. But I'm so fearful of things going on in the Ukraine and the intransientness of Putin, and it's like I can't listen to the news. It hurts me.
Right. So the stuff that really hurts you and bothers you about things you see today are, thank God, becoming more exception than the day-to-day reality. We have a problem here, we have a problem there. That was the whole world 200-300 years ago. So someone like Putin probably would be considered a really benevolent, kind dictator about 300-400 years ago, compared to Ivan the Terrible and some of his other predecessors. So yeah, we got problems. I agree with you. We got problems. But what I think, listen to this idea. It is a bit of a crazy idea. I think the fact that we are fetching about these problems speaks volumes about our expectations today. Because our great-grandparents, if you would show them our world with its problems, they would say, you call that problems? That's nothing. That's nothing. So the fact that we're so upset about the problems, and we should be, I'm not saying we should be upset, but the fact that we're so upset speaks volumes about our expectations. That means that we're pretty much expecting a world with no wars. Do you know that most people today are upset that there's any wars? We expect there to be no wars. And we're baffled. Why are there any wars? There shouldn't be any wars. Our great-grandparents didn't have those expectations. I think they're good expectations. I think they're messianic. I think they're the way it's supposed to be. But the fact that we even have those expectations is fascinating to me. Fascinating. And it speaks volumes about what the future is, because if, remember, the future you see is the future you get. If that's what our youth is expecting, then God willing, that's where we're gonna get to, because our great-grandparents didn't expect that. They were happy if the pogrom missed them and they're in a little corner and they're a little bit good. The world, everyone's fighting, everyone's killing each other, today, ISIS was what civilization was 500 years ago. ISIS is basically just a leftover from what was Hamas and what they did October. That was done everywhere. That was everything. So we sometimes lose sight of that, and so there's problems, but we're in a much better place than we ever used to be, and we can make again things better by starting locally. We can start here in our own little world. That's all we have to do. We don't have to worry. We don't have to go fix the whole world. To fix our world, make our world a little bit better. Okay, I want to move on to tonight's lesson because there's a lot to discuss. So let's go. Okay, so even now that we've gone through all of these lessons, I want to share that there is something deeper. There is something deeper that can provide us meaning beyond everything that we've discussed till now. And we've discussed some pretty hefty topics, and we've, I think, covered a lot. But there's another layer that I think in many ways can provide meaning and a sense of meaning on a deeper level. And that is the idea that we matter, that we're valuable, that we matter. We haven't discussed that till now. We've discussed things that we could do to find meaning, finding purpose, finding out what our purpose is, living with that purpose, finding that in time, finding that in the different scenarios that come up to us in life, the unexpected scenarios. But what about the fact that we matter? And I think mattering, they call it today, it's a word they're using called mattering. It's amazing the words we're coming up with in today's society because, in the, like I said, in the shtetl, they were trying to get through the next day and the pogrom and another piece of bread. And no one talked about mattering. They talked about survival. But today, thank God, we live in a world where we can even have a course called the Kabbalah of Meaning. I mean, in the shtetl, they were like, listen, you have a piece of bread, a way to survive. There's a pogrom coming. Not looking for meaning, looking for survival. But today, thank God, we can do these things. We live in a new world. Let's look at text one let's read this a little bit. Page 158. We're on page 158 in your books, text one. Think about the first time. It's called the science of mattering. Think about the first time you realized you mattered. What happened? How did you feel? Chances are your moment of mattering impacted and moved you. Most likely you felt important because of someone else said or did. So someone said something, someone did something that said you matter. What you do is important. Feeling significant is a basic human desire and a critical factor for mental, emotional, and physical well-being in life, school, and work. So what is mattering? Why is mattering so important? How can we learn to create the experiences for mattering for others? Researchers find mattering is the feeling that we are a significant part of the world around us. It's the belief that we're noticed, important, and needed right now. While studies show experiencing mattering increases a sense of self-worth and motivation, research also finds it reduces the risk of severe depression, anxiety, and can save lives. Because if, let's say, a teenager really believes that they matter and what they do makes a difference and that they're significant, how are they going to feel? Feel better. I mean, again, if someone's dealing with clinical depression, need help, and they got to get that help. But feeling that you matter, there's no question we can see that is going to be very, very valuable to people in life to feel that they matter. So I'd like to, for the people who are here in live tonight, can anyone share an experience or something in their life now or in the past that at some point made them feel that they matter? Something that's made them feel at some point in time that their being here is significant and they've mattered to someone, because it doesn't have to be to the whole world, to someone, something in your life you'd say, that was a moment. Anyone?
Well, when I got this fellowship to do graduate school, and I had these very powerful older sisters, and I always felt they mattered more than I did.
Right.
And to have them congratulate me and want to take me out to, my family to take me out to dinner and say.
So it was a major milestone, and the fact that your whole family really recognized and was celebrating it made you feel that you matter. That's beautiful, amazing. Anyone else? Something, an experience that made you feel you matter?
Yeah, when back 5 or 6 years ago, my sister broke her leg in a skiing accident, and her husband was not able to take care of her, so he called me to come over. They live in Minnesota at the time, Minneapolis, to come over and help her get better, help her get back on her feet again. Because he knew that I had a special relationship with her and have the patience to do it and caring. And he still thanks me to this day to get her well.
So helping a sister who had a broken leg and help her rehabilitate.
Yes.
And again, we're not global. We're not talking about, it wasn't a story, it wasn't on CNN, but you felt that you mattered to them. And it was and it's something till today that's significant in your life. Okay, I'll share just something that comes to mind to me. I'll just share a quick thing. There was a situation where there was because rabbis are coming with lots of situations, but there was one time this sticks out of my mind. One time someone who died, a Jewish person who died, and they wanted to do a autopsy. And in Jewish law, we don't want that if possible because it's a disgrace to the body, and it would have created a lot more pain for the family to have the autopsy done. And I had to use a lot of my friends in the government here in Georgia to all night long. It was up all night long, and finally got them to say, you know, we're gonna, even though the law is so and so, we're gonna make a religious dispensation, this and that. And it was a tremendously comforting to the family. So that, again, one experience, mattering. You matter to someone. Anyone else?
I found out recently, I had an employee tell me, I hired her 20 years ago, she worked a long time, to get a good relationship, and she was at the same wedding I was at, and she told my brothers that, you know, this guy saved my whole career.
There you go.
And I knew in English, I didn't know what the impact was. You know, this whole thing, and maybe we'll get to just when I see matter, so my work I was doing, I said everybody wants to be influential, and no one wants to wake up in the morning and not matter.
Correct.
And so the work I was doing was helping people figure out how they can be influential.
Which I think goes.
It connects, right?
Connects.
Wants to wake up and not be influential. You want to impact.
Well, it's like saying waking up in the morning feeling that you don't matter.
That you don't matter, and no one wants to do that.
Right.
But they don't always have the tools to be influential.
Correct.
And so that's the word.
Or they may not have tools, or they may not even recognize where they already are influential or matter.
Yeah, maybe more first they think.
Correct.
But it is a human need that I didn't know.
Basic human need.
It's a,
and again, this is one of the tragedies of retirement and our system in our country, where we end up putting people in retirement homes, and basically they're put into a place many times where they're told they no longer matter to society, or they no longer matter to their families. And I think that's tragic, because it's such a basic human need to matter, to make a difference. And it's interesting because in the communities where I grew up, the older the people are, you know, the more influential they are, because they are the sages that are giving the advice, sharing the stories of the past, because the past is full of rich stories of wisdom and knowledge that we don't have as much today. And these are the sages that feel very much that they matter, because they're the ones providing all this information. You know, it's very interesting that there was once so on that topic, there was once a rabbi who was on a train with his granddaughter, and his granddaughter was just being very respectful, taking care of him and everything. And there was this atheist sitting there, and he was amazed by the amount of respect that the youth were showing to her. So he turns to the rabbi and says, "How do you get your grandchildren to have such respect for you?" So he says, "Listen, this is the difference between me and you. In my view, we come from Mount Sinai, we come from Moses, and the further back you go, the closer you are to Moses, to God, and so each generation up is closer to that wisdom. So there's a lot of respect." He says, "For you, the closer you go back, the closer you are to the monkeys. So the youth say, oh, them, they're old, you know, we've got the knowledge, we know everything. We don't need the old people anymore." So so again, but the mattering in a society that says older people matter a lot, because they've got wisdom and they've got experience, they've got insight, and we need their insight, need their information. If you go into a place like Crown Heights or Brooklyn and all these communities, you'll go in there, you'll see a group of 18, 19-year-olds. Okay, I'm talking about 200-300 of them huddling around a 95-year-old man who's sharing stories and wisdom. How do you think that 95-year-old man feels? He matters. And he does, because there's wisdom that he has that they don't have. Things he's seen, things he's experienced, things he's heard, stories and things he's learned. And that's the scene you see. You can see it. This is what it is. The 95-year-old man, women, to the women and the girl, but it's like all that knowledge and all that information. So matter, they've got to matter. In our society, in America, we can do a better job. We got to do a better job at that. So mattering is very, very important. But what in all of our stories here, including my story, the one thing is that we matter to someone, to some person. We did something for someone, and someone said something to us that made us feel like we mattered, which is great, and it's very important, and it is something that's important to have that. In fact, that's one of the reasons, one of the most important gifts of marriage. Well, one of the most important gifts of marriage is that you matter to someone. Love is very important, but I think it's more than love. I think what the reason why a lot of people are married, which comes with a lot of sacrifice, and it's not, you can't just do whatever you want, and there are limitations within a marriage, but we're willing to have those limitations because we matter to someone. We matter to someone. Rabbi Jacobson always tells the story about a fellow who's two guys that are flying on business. One of them is single, one of them is married. So as soon as they arrive at their where they get to, the married guy says, I got to call my wife, because if I don't call my wife and tell her I arrived safely and this and that, and I forget to call her, you know what's going to happen. I mean, all hell's going to break loose, and she'll be so angry, so upset. And the single friend says, you see me, freedom, I don't have to call anyone. But his friend says, but that means that you don't matter to anyone. No one cares if you're dead or alive. So yeah, it comes with a lot of freedom, but it comes with not mattering to anyone. But if I don't call or do call, there are that's why, when the people talk about, the Torah is very harsh, lots of consequences in the Torah. What do you think God's saying when he gives you lots of consequences for your actions? You matter. Think about it. A lot of people say, why so many punishments in the Torah? The Torah is very harsh. You do this, you don't do that. The God doesn't have anything better. Does he really care? Does he really? And his answer is his way of saying, you matter. What you do makes a difference. You matter. That's very important. You did do this. You didn't do this. You matter. It's very, very important. And that's the greatest gift, to feel that you matter. So the worst thing you do to a child is not to punish a child. Ignore them. That's the harshest thing. The silent treatment. I don't know if anyone's ever been the recipient of that. That's the worst. When you're irrelevant. When you're irrelevant, when you're no longer relevant, that is the worst thing possible. That you're not relevant. So mattering is very important. But with all of our stories here, everything that we've said, the mattering has been conditional on someone else. What if we don't matter to anyone else, or no one else has acknowledged our mattering? Do we still matter?
Yes.
Why? And this is where Kabbalah wants to take it to the next level. I think this is very, very important, that we can't just matter based on people's feedback and based on our behavior or actions. It has to be a mattering that is unequivocal, unconditional, and is always that way. We matter because of who we are, not necessarily because of what we do. What we do adds mattering, there's no question, but we can still matter just because of who we are. And this is something that's a very important fundamental concept in Kabbalah, this idea that we can just get to a place where we matter because of who we are, unconditional. Let's read a story. It's a very interesting story. It's quite a startling story. And by the way, a great story to show, a great way to show that the Talmud is not afraid to say things as they are. It doesn't hold any punches. Let's take a text 2. Text 2. Page 160. Okay. Text 2. We said over here, once Rebbe Lazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon, was returning from Migdal Gedor, from the home of his teacher, riding along the riverbank on his donkey. He was feeling proud and content. He had just completed a significant stretch of Torah study. So he got his PhD. He was getting he was feeling good. Along the way, he encountered a man who was unusually unattractive. The man greeted him respectfully, "Peace be upon my master." But Rabbi Elazar did not return the greeting. Instead, he said, "Worthless man, how ugly you are. Are all the people of your town as hideous as you?" It's pretty nasty. The man replied, "I don't know, but you should go to the craftsman who made me and tell him how ugly is the vessel you have formed." Wow, what a story. Now, at once Rabbi Elazar realized how wrong he had been. He climbed down from his donkey, bowed before the man, and said, "You have spoken rightly. I admit my mistake. Please forgive me." Quite a story. Now, we have to understand this Rabbi Elazar was not a simple man. His father was the one who wrote the Zohar. This man was a man of great virtue. Most of us, by the way, if you saw someone pretty ugly in the street, would you go with them and say, "Oh, how ugly are you?" Or all the people where you come from is ugly? You know, I wouldn't do that. We just wouldn't. And we're not Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Elazar was a very, very great man. So when he was speaking about this man being ugly, our sages say actually he wasn't referring to his physical features. He actually saw in him that he was spiritually, in his values and his behavior, he was someone who was ugly. He was someone who was really not behaving very, very well. And that's what he was pointing out. So it wasn't about his physical. It was about his character. He was speaking about his character. He could see, because Rabbi Elazar was a great man, he could see his character. And even though his character was not good, what's the man's response? I still have value. Why? Yes, God. I may be a no good nobody. I might not have good character. I might be a worthless individual, but God created me. I have value because God created me. So if I do nothing, if I have nothing, God created me. God loves me. Even, and can I ask you, is it possible for a parent to love a child when a child misbehaves?
Mhm.
Now, would a parent be disappointed? Yes. Did a parent get frustrated? Yes. All this. I'm a parent. I know we can do all of that. Get frustrated, get upset. But can we love notwithstanding? Absolutely. Why? Because it's my child. And if my child doesn't get a straight A, or they don't get a PhD, can I still love them? Well, the Jewish mother, I don't know. They're not, right? They're not a doctor. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, the answer is, it's my child. It's my child. They don't have to be. In fact, sometimes a child who doesn't have capacities and abilities, the love is even more pronounced. The love is even more pronounced because it's not mixed in with the being proud of the straight A's or the great athlete or the great accomplishments. It's unadulterated. What? There's love. There's love. Why? Because it's my child. It's unconditional. And that's what the Torah wants us to understand, is that we have to get to a place that we do feel that we are created by God. There's a craftsman who created us, and we have this unconditional value. We matter because of who we are. We're intrinsically valuable. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, I think when I read this, I thought he did a great job with this, and I've mentioned it before. He's definitely one of my heroes as far as his ability to articulate ideas in Judaism so beautifully. And he was the chief rabbi of the British Commonwealth for a long time, and actually was my father's study partner in yeshiva in Israel for a few months. They studied together. They knew each other very, very well. And so, but one of the things he would say is, like, there's a blessing where we say in the priestly blessing, and the end of the priestly blessing says, "V'yasein lecha shalom," and God should give you peace. Okay, and it starts like this: Ya'er Hashem panav elecha. Hashem should shine His face to you. He should shine His face to you. V'yasein lecha shalom, and He should give you peace. And he said like this: he says, imagine you go into a big room, big party, and no one knows you, and you don't know anyone, and no one even looks at you. How do you feel?
Invisible.
And you, huh? Right. I'm saying that generally, if like no one even looks, no one says hello, you walk in the room, no one acknowledges your presence even. You feel very alone. You feel like you don't matter. You feel like you don't count. Now imagine in that room, there's the star, or the famous the whatever you want to call it, there's some famous star of the show, and everyone's there, and that star of the show knows you, and from across the room says, "Hey, how you doing, Ephraim? Good to see you." And everyone looks your way. Oh, he knows you. How do you feel at that moment?
Very.
Oh, like, hey, acknowledge me. So if we can get to a place where we really feel that God, who's the star of stars, who He acknowledges us, He believes in us, He loves us, and we internalize that, then it makes no difference what someone else did say, didn't say. My boss did say I mattered. My boss didn't say I mattered. My spouse said I mattered, and my spouse didn't say I mattered today. Whatever it may be, I matter. I'm good. And when you have that, nothing can bring you down because you matter intrinsically. If life is good, it's a bonus. It's great. Life is not so. You didn't have such a great day at work. You weren't so successful. You didn't get the promotion. I'm still good. I matter. And getting there is work. It's not something you got to work on that. But it's an amazing place to get to that I just matter because I do. If I don't get out of bed today and do nothing, do I matter? Yes.
Because God had higher expectations.
We're going to get there. We're going to get there. That's a good question. Well, are there expectations that come with it? We're going to get there. But I think first, yeah, correct. So, but I want to say that even if we did sleep all day long and did nothing, good for nothing. Like, I always say the story about the guy who comes home and he tells his wife, he sits down, comes home from a long day work, he sits down on the couch and, time is flying when you're having fun. He sits down on the couch and he says to his wife, he turns on the TV, he says, quick, bring me a beer before it starts. She brings a beer. And he guzzles the whole beer down. He says, quick, bring me a beer before it starts. And she brings him another beer. And he says, quick, bring me another beer before it starts. And she goes, you know what you're going to do all night? Sit there on the couch, watch TV and do nothing, just guzzle beer all night. He says, it started. So this is it started. So this is the thing is that even if we don't do anything, we just sit on the couch, watch TV all day, we still matter. Now we'll talk about are there any expectations? We'll get there in a second, but we matter because we matter. And getting to that place means that we're always in a good place, means we're meaningful, but intrinsically our life has meaning because I'm valuable. There's a prayer in the morning. It's a beautiful affirmation, the Modani prayer. But at the end of that prayer, it's a one-line prayer. We wake up in the morning, we say, we thank God in the first thing in the morning. As Jonathan Sachs says, we thank before we think. We thank before we think. It's a very powerful line. We thank before we think. But at the end of that sentence, we say, thank you, God, the living eternal God, for restoring my soul, okay, for giving me my life back. Great is your faith in me. That's the end of that sentence. We're saying, wow, you gave me a day here. You give me another day. You believe in me. I matter. I matter. Just because I do. Your children matter. Do they matter? Are they loved more or less because they do more or less? No. The love is always the same. We could be proud. We can have expectations. We can want them to achieve. We want them. But the love, their value to us is always. And that is something that Kabbalah says we have to work on. Getting to a place where we feel intrinsically valuable, and which means that nothing can bring you down. So it's not, I don't need to have the accolades. I don't need the accolades. The accolades are nice. I like them. Everyone likes them. Everyone wants to get the accolade. Everyone wants to get the praise. Everyone wants to get the, we all like it. We all feel good. And it's hard when we don't, but I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm intrinsically okay because that star in the front of the room, he's shining his countenance to me. He's the biggest star. He's saying, I know you. He's the one giving us the wink from across the room. It's good to see you. I know exactly, my buddy, my friend. Yes.
Well, people who are evil to their core, they have intrinsic value.
They do. They haven't tapped into it at all, because that's what we're going to get to next. They're intrinsic. Yeah, there is intrinsic value. They're a creature of God. They were created by God. As this man who is hideous, not physically, spiritually, character-wise, says, speak to the craftsmen who made me. I have value in being created. That doesn't give them a pass, and we're going to get to them. In fact, the fact that you have that, I think, only raises the stakes higher. And that's we need to get there. Let's wait to get to that place. But we need to first establish this idea that we have value. So if I don't find meaning, if I don't find purpose, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay, and I'm more than okay. I have everything because I am a creation. I'm a creation of God. If we take a look at texts, see text 3. Let's look at text 3 for a moment. Okay, this is page 161. Human beings are beloved because they were created in the image of God. They were even more beloved because God let them know that they were created in his image. It says in the image of God, he made the human being. So why are we beloved? Because we're created by God, created in the image of God. And God told us it. He told us it. Where does he tell us this? In the Genesis, in the Torah. He told us. Why do you think God said, I created man in the image of God? Why do you think he's telling us that? We should know it. We need to know this because then we know we matter. We're created in the image of God. We matter. And by the way, this is where modern psychology and Kabbalah are going to diverge. Because in modern psychology, when someone's feeling bad about themselves and suffering from low self-esteem, what will a psychologist tell them to build their self-esteem?
Lists of what you do.
Correct. Find things that you're good at. Find the areas where you do succeed at, and build up your self-esteem from there. What if you have someone who is, I'm just saying, let's say theoretically, someone who just got nothing. Well, the psychologist is going to say, I don't know, I can't help you. Kabbalah says we can still help you. Because you're valuable because you are. Your existence is valuable. Just like a child is valuable to their parents, you're valuable. And that's something that in modern psychology, you're not going to get that concept. In Kabbalah, it will. Kabbalah will say, even someone who can't, it's a total shlemazel. You know what shlemazel? Like he just can't get anything right. You're valuable. And by the way, a Chabad rabbi or a Hasidic rabbi or a rabbi who studies this, how does he view another human being? As being intrinsically valuable, no matter what they are doing or not doing. Their value is God made them. They're a creation of Hashem. They're valuable. How should you treat that person? As valuable, as precious, because they are. So it's about ourselves. It's about the way you view another person. But then there's another piece here. And it's very interesting, by the way, on that modern psychology piece, that on the modern, is it 8:45?
Yes.
Yeah. In the modern psychology piece, very interesting story. Story from the Torah, Genesis, the Bible. God comes to Moses and tells him, I want you, at the burning bush, says, I want you to be the leader, go tell Pharaoh and lead the Jewish people out of Egypt. And Moses says, me? I have a speaking impediment. I'm not a leader. I'm not a speaker. I'm not good. You got the wrong guy. He's like looking around like, maybe it's someone else. It's not me. I can't do this. I don't have leadership abilities. I don't have speaking abilities. I'm not cut out for this. So what would most people, what would you expect God's response should be? You can do it. You can do it. You've got the speaking ability. You've got the leadership. You can do this. That's what most of us would do, right? You know what God told him? God told him, you're absolutely right. You don't have speaking ability. You're not a good leader. None of that. But I'll be with you. You're going with me. You matter because I'm with you. And actually, that gives Moses much more confidence than just that he's a good leader and he's a great speaker and he's a great, because I'm going actually with power that's beyond me. Yeah. So this is I think is point number one, is that the first thing here is that we matter intrinsically, and that is something that's we have to remember. And it's and what's very interesting is that we are created in the image of God. So we're not just, it's two things. Number one, we're creations of God. So we're valuable because we're creations, but we're not just creations, because the tree is also a creation. We're humans. We're created in the image of God, not the tree isn't. We are. So we're unique. As human beings, we're created in the image of God. And what's God's value? What makes God special? What he does?
He is.
He just is. So, it's pretty nifty. God created a big universe. That's a big deal. Made this whole universe, and you could look at it and say, wow, if he made all of this, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool he made all of this. But before God made all of this, did he still have value? Or what did it say on God's business card before he created the world? Now he can have a business card that says God created the world. That's his business card now, maybe. But what did his business card say before he created the world?
I am.
God. God doesn't need to create the world to be valuable. If God did nothing, would he still be valuable? And we're created in the image of God. So what's it trying to say? Even if we don't do anything, we're valuable. We're valuable. And not that mankind is valuable. Because one other interesting thing in Genesis is, there's a lot of interesting things when it talks about the creation of man. And by the way, the reason it always tells these stories is exactly for the information that we're gleaning now. Remember, we said there's 2 steps in the creation of man. But there's another very interesting thing, because when God made birds, how many birds did he make? I don't know, thousands, hundreds, thousands, million, I don't know, made a lot of birds. Animals, talks about a lot of animals. When it came time to making man, how many people did God make? 1. By the way, God knew that if this man was going to reproduce, what was going to be needed? 2, right? And eventually God, in Torah talks about what sounds like a pretty painful procedure in which God separates the man into 2, right? And now you got Adam and Eve. Well, if that was the plan, just make 2 in the first. He made lots of other animals, made lots of creatures. Why did God start with only man, with only 1 person? Because God wants every single human being to know that you are like that 1 person, that in God's eyes, you're like the only human being in the world. So not only are you valuable because you're created in the image of God, but then I'm valuable amongst 8 billion other valuable people. God says, in my eyes, the way I see each of you is as if you're the only one, which is an unbelievable thing. And I always give the example, I've used this many times. If you would go into God's office, okay, and look on his monitor, on his screen, who's on his screen? Only you. And God does that with 8 billion people. Now, as a human being, you can't do that, if you're dividing your attention into 8 billion, but God's infinite. So an infinite being can be fully involved and engaged and focused on each human being as if they're the only human being in the world. We can't do that. We have, at some point, when it gets to, I have 9 kids. Can't. So everything's all over. It's right away. You got a big company, and that's why you have the managers. Because you have a company now, it's got thousands of people working for it. You gotta man. I can't know everyone and know everything that's going on. If you micromanage like that, but you know what God is? God is the ultimate micromanager, because he's infinite. So God's involved in every detail. By the way, that's how idol worship began. Idol worship began as that people believed that God was the CEO, and he delegated the running the world to managers. That's how idol worship began. The Torah says that's how it began. People started thinking, well, God, yeah, he's the big CEO. He's not involved in my life. I got back pain. You think God's involved in my back pain? He's running the whole universe. He's got managers. And we serve these idols that are the managers. Judaism says, no. There's no managers. There's no middleman. God is the CEO, and he is involved in he's the ultimate micromanager. Because if you're infinite, you can't. And so not only do we matter because we're created in the divine image, in God's eyes, each of us are like we're the only one here in the whole world. That's how he sees it. So do we matter? That's a lot of mattering. I don't know if we can handle all that mattering. That's intense. That's a lot of mattering. And that's what the Torah is trying to teach us here. That's what the Kabbalah is trying to say. Now, we come on to, and let's take a look at text 6, which is page 164. This is a Mishnah from Sanhedrin. What does it say? 164, because Adam was created as a single person, every individual is required to say, the world was created just for me. You're the only guy here. And by the way, we don't mean this in a narcissistic entitlement perspective. Oh, the whole world's here for me, so move out of the way, kind of thing. No, what this is saying is you matter so much. You matter so much, and what you do matters so much. In fact, Adam, if he saw some garbage on the street, and he said, I'm tired today, I'm going to pick up the garbage. Let someone else pick up the garbage. Was there anyone else to pick up the garbage? No. So if Adam didn't do it, what happens? It didn't get done. And the Torah says that's the way you got to live your life. You notice something, do something. Don't say, oh, someone else will take care of it. That's someone else will handle it. God made you as the only one. You see it, you can do something, you do something. Don't worry, right? We say Adam and Eve had, they say a marriage made in heaven. Why do they have it says they had the best marriage ever? So, you know, one of the reasons for that? No in-laws. No in-laws. Didn't have to worry about it. Everything was great. But Adam was a man on his own, right? A man on his own. Everything he did counted. And this is what the Torah wants us to know, is that we matter on that level. And again, we don't feel, this is not our Kabbalah. It's giving us perspectives that are not the way we see the world naturally. The way we see the world naturally is I'm just a number. 1 in a billion. If I'm here today, gone tomorrow, does it really make a difference? Kabbalah says that's not the way God sees it. It's not the reality from God's perspective. From God's perspective, you matter intrinsically, and you matter as if you're the only person here in this world. So that is the thing. Now, let's see, what I want to get to is what we was discussed before. Hold on a second. Let's see, it's text 8 here. Okay. And we can go even further than this. Let's look at text 8. This is from the Tanya, page 165, the great book of the Tanya. The second soul in a Jew is actual part of God. So there's a soul that's a part of godliness from above. And it says, Israel is my distinguished and illustrious child, and you're the children of your God. Just as a child is drawn from the parents' essence contained in their mind, so too the soul of every Jew is drawn from God's wisdom. And since God is wise, but not with human limited wisdom, he is wise, him and his wisdom are one, and the Jewish soul which stems from that wisdom is likewise one with him. Again, all these concepts of a soul, of a person, of being created in the image of God, and the oneness that we have with God. Now, comes the question that was brought up before, which is, okay, so if I matter, I could just lay in bed all day, watch TV all day, and I matter, and everything's fine. And actually, hey, Rabbi, I wish you would have taught this the first week of the course, because then we could have skipped we didn't need the whole course, but we could come here the first week. That's why they do it this way, by the way. People wouldn't come for the rest of the course. No, I'll come to, and then who needs meaning and who needs purpose? Who needs anything? I matter, and I matter because I do. So what we're trying to say is because you matter, because you've got such great abilities, therefore the expectations are so high. In other words, like this, but in other words, the level of how much we matter and how much God believes in us and how much God feels that we are here, that we can achieve, should only actually raise our level of and our sense of the need to live up to that value that we have. So first of all, if you're that valuable and you matter that much, and you've realized that, one of the things you start avoiding is self-destructive behavior. Because people who do self-destructive things, what does that usually show about the way they feel about themselves? They don't feel good about themselves. Self-sabotaging, self-destructive people don't feel good about it. That's why they do that, because they don't feel good about themselves. If you feel good about yourself, you don't do that. So first of all, if I really realize how precious and valuable I really am, that I matter, so I don't want to do things that self-sabotage. So let's talk about the negative. I'm not going to do things, which, by the way, laying in bed doing nothing all day is self-sabotaging. That's one example. But look at this amazing verse in the Torah. Let's look at this verse. Text. Text 13a, page 173. I know I'm skipping around, but let's go to 173. So look at this. It says here, you are the children of your God. Do not cut yourselves, do not tear out your hair from the head of your head for the dead, for you are the holy people of your God. He has chosen you to be his treasured people from among all the nations of the earth, face of the earth. Do not eat any detestable thing. What's the Torah saying here? Don't cut yourself, don't harm yourself, don't self-sabotage. There's a thing called cutters. Yes. People who cut themselves. I know teenagers that do that. Kids, cutters. Don't cut yourself. Don't harm your body. Don't eat detestable things. Why? Because you're royalty. Because you're the children of God. You matter. You're important. Why would you do something self-sabotaging? Realizing who you are should really inspire us. And actually, when I wake up in the morning, I say, wow, God's got a monitor in his room. The only one on that monitor is me. I matter that much. So am I going to lay in bed all day and watch TV and do nothing? I got to get up and do something. But it's not that my value comes from my doing, that because I do, therefore I'm valuable. This is the point. I'm valuable and therefore I do. There's a big distinction here. A lot of us live life, I do, therefore I'm valuable. That's the way a lot of us live life. I accomplished things. I studied. I did well at business. I've built a nice family. I made money. I have friends. I have influence. I wrote a book. So I did those things. I'm valuable. This is saying, no, you are valuable. And because you're valuable, you know what you should do? Do things. Do things because you're valuable. Right? There's, if you belong to the royal family, they have certain, not that they're all so perfect out there, right? But if you belong to the royal family, supposedly there's a certain etiquette you follow, right? You can't do this. You hold a teacup this way, and you do this and that. Is it the etiquette that makes you royal, or is it because you're royal, you behave with the etiquette? Because you're royal, you behave with the etiquette. When you realize that your royalty, it's not a way of being a snob. It's not about I'm better than anyone else. Realizing that your royalty means there's behavior that's expected of you. Because you're royalty, when I say royalty, because you're a child of God, because you matter, because you're intrinsically valuable. So when you're a child of God, the child of God speaks to someone in a nice way. You treat people with kindness, with sensitivity. You behave like nobility because you're a noble person. So you behave in a noble way because you're intrinsically noble. It's very interesting. My father has this thing because my father's English and he's very into the monarchy and he's third, fourth generation English. So though he's been living in this country now for 30, 40 years, he's still very enamored with he doesn't like the fact that he says culture in America. He doesn't like, he says this country lacks culture. He says culture in America is the greeter at Walmart greeting you. And when everyone's trying to run and save another dollar, he won't go into Walmart. He finds it demeaning that to go into a place where everything is just about saving another buck. It feels like that whole culture is demeaning. But so he has a thing where he calls our family when he gathers the family the royal Silvermans. Yes. But what he means by that, really intrinsically, is that to see yourself not in a snobby way, to see yourself that you've got as a Jew, as a person, that you matter, that you've got nobility intrinsically, and therefore, how should it come out in the way you speak? A person who's intrinsically valuable doesn't use uncouth words, doesn't use words that are unrefined, doesn't treat people in an unrefined way. You behave in a refined way because that's who you are. But this is the paradigm shift of this lesson is you are not that you do that makes you valuable. You're valuable, so therefore go out and do. It should inspire you to go out and do more than what you're actually currently doing. Because you're actually, how valuable you are? God created you. You're created in the divine image. You've got his soul. He put you here. He puts you here every day. You matter tremendously. You've got tremendously intrinsic value. So there's a lot you can do. It actually should get us out there to do more. And when we don't do as well, when we fail at certain things, we're still okay. I'm still the nobility. Could have done better. Next time I will, but I'm still nobility. My value isn't dependent on that because I'm intrinsically valuable. And that's why I always say that there was a Rabbi Tversky. He used to say, and he expressed it beautifully, but this is in the old country, when you wanted to tell a child off, when you wanted to admonish a child, okay, when the child misbehaved. So you could say bad child or no good, or why did you do that? Or, how could you? Whatever. In Yiddish, there's an expression that is used that is the most unbelievable way to admonish a child when a child is misbehaved. And in Yiddish, I'll say the Yiddish words and then translate because the Yiddish is so beautiful. It's passt nicht, which means it's not befitting you. You're better than that. I'm disappointed because you're better than that. You're not. I don't judge you by your actions. I know you're better than that because you're intrinsically better. So it's disappointing because I know you're better. And it's a different worldview. It's saying you have intrinsic value. And therefore, it's disappointing that you're not living up to that. It's disappointing when you misbehaved or did this or did that. So actually, while you're admonishing the child, what are you actually doing? You're lifting them up. Of being much more. It's such a great way to admonish someone. You're better than that. Which way is it not?
You said this question of the outforce if someone's really bad, they say, Rabbi, you're better than that.
But you have to say it with kindness. But it's a way when you're saying it was
now it is bad you are.
Right. There's more. You've got more to give to this thing. You're better. You've got more. You've got more. You're intrinsically valuable, and therefore you could do better. So this is, I think, the last piece of this Kabbalah of Meaning journey is this idea of this intrinsic value. It's something, by the way, it's a lifelong thing. You got to work on it, work on it, work on it, work on it, because we're so programmed to be reactive to our environment. If someone says something nice about you, we feel great. If someone noticed and said we matter, we matter. If someone didn't notice us, and then we feel low. So it's a lot of work to get to that place where I'm okay. I matter. I matter. If no one says I matter, I matter. And from that mattering comes all the things I do. Because I matter, I do. And because I matter so much, I have to do so much. I have to hold myself higher, because there's so much I could do. So two things. Number one is I'm going to show a video. I'm going to show it first live in the class, and then I'll show it on the Zoom for the Zoom group. So if you can just be patient for a minute, because I can't get the sound to work for both. So it's a little video that's a little review of the course. I think it was very cute, very well done. So it kind of goes through the whole course. We'll show the video. And then we're finished the course. I did last week lessons 4 and 5. This is lesson 6. What I'd like to do, because we were supposed to have a class next week, is invite everyone to come next week to celebrate the end of the course. Next Wednesday night, starting at 6 o'clock, a little earlier, 6 o'clock, we're going to celebrate. Now, how are we going to celebrate? First of all, we're having an open bar. We're having we're having brisket. We're having pulled brisket sandwiches and hamburgers and food and drinks and everything. So we're going to celebrate. And then we're going to have a chance, if you want, to act out on some of the things that we did here in this course, which is to help Chabad. We're going to have the call center here, so you get to help Chabad. So do something productive. Get on the phone, maybe raise a few dollars for Chabad, so you can do something productive in a way that's not only for you, it's for a charity. It's also doing something uncomfortable, because by the way, fundraise, calling someone on the phone, it's uncomfortable. It's like, and you got to deal with the rejection. So doing something a little uncomfortable, so that's personal growth. We're involved in helping Chabad fulfill a purpose and making, hopefully, the Jewish world and our world, and through that, the whole world, a better place. So we're fulfilling purpose. And we're going to be doing it in and we're going to do it in a way that even if we don't succeed greatly, we're still going to feel intrinsically valuable. Even when someone says, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to donate, or whatever, I'm okay. I'm intrinsically valuable. So we're going to get to practice everything we did here in this course next week in our party. It's our campaign party, but I believe it's a great way to finish the course. Come next week at 6 o'clock. We're going to have food. We're going to have drink. And and by the way, even if you don't call anyone and don't raise any dollars, you still matter. Just if you just eat food and hang out. And by the way, some people are very good at encouraging other people and being a fan. So I want to invite everyone for next week. We're having our campaign.
You can matter more.
Yeah, you can matter even more, and you can do whatever it is. So we're going to be raising $500,000, which is basically $250,000 matched, which is a big number. It took a big jump from last year. I wanted to play it safe and say, no, let's go for a smaller number. And then we said, well, this is the Mashiach mindset campaign, which means we've got to think bigger and think out of the box and push ourselves into places that are a little uncomfortable, but push us a little further. So in 3 days, we're going to raise $250,000, which is going to get matched. We have some matchers with matching it. And that's what we're going to do. But again, for those who want to join next Wednesday night, 6 o'clock, we'll be here, 6 to 8, food, music, fun, phones, and together we'll do some good things. So that's that. I want to show the video, and then I'm going to show it to everyone online. So the people online, if you can just hold on for a minute, let me show it first here, and then I will share it on these things. So let's just see. Okay. Is that too loud?
No.
Okay. Let's get the lights off here a second. And I thought they did a great job of this for this video. It's not everything, of course, but I think it's a great way to review the material that we've gone through over the last. Let's see.
Support. How may I help you find home today?
Hi there. Yeah, I've done a lot of things, checked all the boxes, so why does it feel like something's still missing?
No problem. We'll troubleshoot together. Before we dive in, can you share your screen so we can look at the settings?
Oh, sure. Sure, I can do that.
Which boxes did you check?
Yeah, the fulfillment boxes, good job, cozy home, lots of gadgets, regular vacations, restaurants, all the things that, should make me feel that my life is truly full.
See, there's more than that on a different list. That's exactly why we're here. Ready to dive in?
Yeah, I hope so.
Step one, have you synced your actions with your purpose?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I try. Actually, can you explain what you mean? Less, technical terms.
System shows sync incomplete. Let me clarify. This step means discovering your purpose in this world and living your life accordingly.
Well, that sounds like a lot. Now, how do I even know what my purpose is?
Not to worry, we'll break it down. Step two, have you checked your source code?
Source code. I barely remember my password, and to be honest, I didn't even know I had source code.
Very common. Most people skip that step. I'm talking how to define code, the Torah, life's ultimate operating system.
I guess I really should check that out.
That's right. On to the next step. Step three. Have you cultivated a deeper awareness for daily tasks?
Daily tasks, like folding laundry and making coffee.
That's right. Every action, even the most mundane, can run in purpose mode. Otherwise, it's just a background app draining your spiritual energy.
So making coffee is a mitzvah?
Not exactly, but you can aim it toward a mitzvah, like staying alert for morning prayers or being an attentive husband and dad. And speaking of daily rhythm, that brings us to step four. Is your time set to spiritual standard?
Well, my time, look, I'm usually late. Does that count?
Not quite. Each day, each week, each month, each holiday, and even your birthday carries unique meaning. A capture everything's spiritual standard to turn on the day's unique energy. Once you're in sync with sacred time, the next challenge is what happens at times when you're thrown a curveball. That takes us to step five. Have you installed updates for unexpected events?
Oh, don't remind me. I still haven't recovered from 2020.
Yes, that was a major update. When plans go haywire, it's not a mistake. It's a system tweak for your soul's mission.
Really?
Absolutely. Look for the clues hidden in those changes.
Okay, but even if I do all that, will it work? To be honest, I'm not even sure that I matter.
Now let's in your default settings. You matter. Always. No reinstall needed, not even a minor fix needed. You're good to go in that area.
What are my default settings?
Let's see. Checking energy. You were created in the divine image, a reflection of God Himself. And now try to cosmic weight. Yep, it's right there. Every one of your actions, even the smallest, carries enormous impact. Finally, checking individual ID. Yep, just as I thought, you are actually irreplaceable.
Thank you. I've got a lot to work on, but at least now I know where to look, where I'm going, and why.
Exactly. Read the manual, divine code, and if you ever get stuck, call back anytime. Thank you for calling Life Tech Support. Have a meaningful day.
Okay, for those online, I'm going to share the video with you and then say goodnight to the people here. So give me a second. Let me get to this video, advanced video. And I need downloads. Okay. This should work for the people online.
Hello, thank you for calling Life Tech Support. How may I help you find fulfillment in life today?
Yeah, hi there. Yeah, I've done all the things, checked all the boxes, so why does it feel like something's still missing?
No problem. We'll troubleshoot together. Before we dive in, could you share your screen so we could look at the settings?
Oh, sure. Sure, I could do that.
Trying to say is that when we talk about unprofitable, we look at unprofitable today. I was wondering if the big picture.
Perfect. Which boxes did you check?
Yeah, the fulfillment boxes, you know, good job, cozy home, lots of gadgets, regular vacations, restaurants, all the things that, you know, should make me feel that my life is truly full.
I see. There's more than that on a different list. That's exactly why we're here. Ready to dive in?
Well, yeah, I hope so.
Step 1. Have you synced your actions with your purpose?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know, I try. Actually, can you explain what you mean in less, you know, technical terms?
System shows sync incomplete. Let me clarify. This step means discovering your purpose in this world and living your life accordingly.
Well, that sounds like a lot. Now, how do I even know what my purpose is?
Not to worry, we'll break it down. Step 2, have you checked your source code?
Source code? I can barely remember my Amazon password, and to be honest, you know, I didn't even know I had a source code.
Very common. Most people skip that step. I'm talking about the divine code, the Torah, life's ultimate operating system.
I guess I really should check that out.
That's right. On to the next step. Step 3. Have you activated a deeper awareness for daily tasks?
Daily tasks, like folding laundry and making coffee?
That's right. Every action, even the most mundane, can run in purpose mode. Otherwise, it's just a background app draining your spiritual energy.
So making coffee is a mitzvah?
Not exactly, but you can aim it toward a mitzvah, like staying alert for morning prayers or being an attentive husband and dad. And speaking of daily rhythm, that brings us to step 4. Is your time set to spiritual standard?
Well, my time? Well, look, I'm usually late. Does that count?
Not quite. Each day, each week, each month, each holiday, and even your birthday carries unique meaning. Open the calendar and then go to spiritual standard to turn on the day's unique energy. Once you're in sync with sacred time, the next challenge is what happens at times when you're thrown a curveball. That takes us to step 5. Have you installed the updates for unexpected events?
Oh, don't remind me. I still haven't recovered from 2020.
Yes, that was a major update. When plans go haywire, it's not a mistake. It's a system tweak for your soul's mission.
Really?
Absolutely. Look for the clues hidden in those changes.
Okay, but even if I do all that, will it work? To be honest, I'm not even sure that I matter.
That one's in your default settings. You matter. Always. No reinstall needed, not even a minor fix needed. You're good to go in that area.
What are my default settings?
Let's see. Checking imaging. You were created in the divine image, a reflection of God himself. And now checking cosmic weight. Yep, it's right there. Every one of your actions, even the smallest, carries enormous impact. Finally, checking individual ID. Yep, just as I thought, you are actually irreplaceable.
Well, thank you. I've got a lot to work on, but, you know, at least now I know where to look, where I'm going, and why.
Exactly. Read the manual, the divine code, and if you ever get stuck, call back anytime. Thank you for calling Life Tech Support. Have a meaningful day.
Okay. People on Zoom, were you able to watch the video? Did it show up? Okay, glad that works. Sorry we had to delay that. I want to thank everyone for participating in the course. I did record this class So in case we need to, we'll get it out. We'll send a link out. Did everyone get the JLI email? The email that with the last link for the last class? I think it went out. Yeah. So there'll be another one for this one in case anyone needs it. And again, those wants to come next Wednesday, we're gonna have a party here, and we have a good time. Come join us. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Did it end? Did it end?